Alright, welcome back to Elden Ring. We need to clear out the Weeping Peninsula. Now, I do not want to spend forever on this thing. There's a lot of interesting things to do here, but really, I'm just going to cut to the key pieces, I would say. The things that have the most interesting stuff to do in here. There's a lot to explore, really, just like in Limgrave, but we're going to try and be a little more efficient this time. So without further ado, let's get rolling. So the first thing that we end up finding when we kind of go back a little bit, we go over here to the side of Grace at the rampart, and you can see in this map there is a village of some kind, or, you know, some kind of structure grouping of buildings, right? And we follow this path around, and we can see the first evidence of it, as well as the path has taken us through all of these woods. But again, just like everything else, it's going to be pretty abandoned. But we start finding some items, right? Yellow embers, and then there are these rats, and these rats are much different than the ones we found before. They have glowing, like burning looking eyes, and they are inflicting some kind of status on us. And it's a weird, like, if you really zoomed in and got a look at it, and you had some background on like what the heck it could look like, it's like an eye, a weird yellowy eye. So let's go ahead and take a look at that burning ember. So it's an ember taken from the eye socket of a corpse. It's used for crafting. It's a sign that the deceased suffered from the flame of frenzy. This grape has ripened and burst. Now, we've heard about a grape before. We got that when we finished out Stormvale. We got a Shibriri grape, right? Which is right here. It's not unlike a large, overly ripe grape. So this thing was somebody who suffered from some flame of frenzy thing, and then their eyeballs exploded, which is crazy. Their eyes exploded is it. But, you know, what was something we noticed, though? These freaking rats, their eyes were all like flamey and yellow looking. Like, I haven't really looked at many of the rats before, like on their eyes, but I don't know that I remember their eyes actually being yellow. Yeah. And there is another item right here. This is a different type of bush we haven't seen before. Eye of Yellow. Weird, huh? And this one is grown as a shrub fruit bursting with ripened pulp. And it does look how oozy it appears to be. And it's got kind of, yeah, it just looks kind of gross, honestly. Grown in lands afflicted by frenzy, it's used for its pain-relieving properties, though it's also known to be a dangerous intoxicant. Now, as we finish coming up this path, we end up seeing a guy there, and he's standing up. He's looking at his spear, and look, he's got the same yellowy eyes like our rats do. Take him out, and he's got kind of a similar appearance as like many of the commoners, right? Just a standard shriveled-y dude. He's not quite zombie-like, like the wandering noble dudes, wispy gray nasty beards, but you can see he doesn't have any of the like when we see the other commoners, they have that commoner garb with the different like Erdtree shackle things for their sign of allegiance to the Erdtree. This guy doesn't have that. He's just got some hooded stuff on. He was chilling until we got kind of close, and then he gets up, and there is a burning bonfire pyre thing there with, look, and see, there's commoners there, and see, they have the neck piece, like the commoner garb, showing their allegiance to the Erdtree, and these guys, none of them have that, and they're all hanging around the site. Now, this pose is also sort of familiar. If we think back to that ghost, we saw a ghost outside of that Shibriri grape right next to it, and he was in a similar pose to this one, all like kind of reeling over, holding their head. Now, why is that? Maybe because they're afflicted by this flame of frenzy, especially when it's called the Ailing Village. And they could be holding their head because, one, they're going frenzied, and two, their eyeballs might be about to explode, which is fatal. Oh, he started casting a spell. Like, we saw him doing a thing. Maybe let's get this guy to do it, if he can. There's an attack. Come on. Oh, there he goes. So he starts holding his head, and then there's a burst of like a yellow fire coming from, I'm going to assume, is his eyes. Like, it could have just been from his face, but I mean, honestly, as the yellow flame seems to be focused around their eyes, the items that are associated with this frenzy stuff and the flame of frenzy are all eyeball focused, it's probably coming from his eyes. Now we got a Flame Crest shield. A tall, medium-sized wooden shield, carried by soldiers of the village that is afflicted by frenzy. Now, we haven't seen any soldiers. The yellow flame is the symbol of the affliction, serving as a warning to those who might approach the village. So, you know, I guess there were soldiers. They had this shield with marking on it just to, like, warn people away. So I guess it was a common enough symbol that people would see it and say, oh, I need to stay away. Otherwise, something bad's going to happen to me. All right, there is a chapel. We've seen some of these before, right? No, thank you. Now, if we got hit by his spell, we would notice that it would start building up that status effect like the rats were inflicting on us. And we can see that there are a lot more rats. Kalu Baptismal Church, or maybe Caillou, you know, depending on how the pronunciation is actually supposed to be. We're going to go ahead and use the ability of our Ultra Sword. The Grafted Greatsword, Vow of Vengeance or something. Let's hit it really hard. Oh, I still not enough poise, but we're doing a ton of damage, so it worked out. And there's the Flame of Frenzy spell. What else do we find? A Sacred Tear, which we have found before. We use that to enhance our things, and it's a Statue of America. And again, so like before I mentioned that it seemed like there were inscription things on there. I do think those are actually supposed to be inscriptions, because we see that a lot when it's associated with the two fingers, like items are. And if she is somehow a vessel for the Elden Ring, which and like all of it kind of like falls under this greater will, and the two fingers are envoys of the greater will, it would make sense that those are some kind of inscription with them. Flame of Frenzy, incantation originating from the maddening three fingers. Causes the yellow flame of frenzy to burst forth from the caster's eyes. Charging will increase the range of it. The flame of frenzy deals damage and causes buildup of madness. This incantation also causes buildup of madness in the caster and is only effective against tarnished. So there's a maddening three fingers. So I mean, in a way, you know, it's poetic or something, right? It fits, because you've got two fingers, and then, you know, what's a hand have? A hand has five fingers. So where are the other three fingers? They're crazy frenzy fingers for some reason. So sure, and considering there's items before that say three fingers are a sign of bad luck, you know, this would explain why they are a symbol of bad luck, is because you have some maddening three fingers. So where are they at? Like, I'm assuming that they're real, considering there are actual two fingers and there is a crazy madness flame. In addition, another interesting thing, these are yellow flames of frenzies, where there's the other spells where we've got regular fire, which is just flames, and then you've got the black flames that we've, you know, seen before, or seen with Corin when we got that Godskin book. So there's black flames of the Godskins, we've got the regular flames, we've got Flame of Frenzy, yellow flames, so there's all kinds of different colored flames, and we've seen white flames and kind of bluey-ish flames as well down in catacombs and whatnot. I'd also just like to note, this is not going to be the only place we see it. There's spots in Limgrave as well. Just these sections of a cliff. Like, they're like big, I guess, I was going to call them tombstones, or headstones. Like, because you see these sticking out the side, and that's exactly what they look like to me. But, like, gosh, kind of the way these go up almost feel like a sort of natural formation, and the way this is like almost column-like, you know, it's strange. Are they supposed to be sideways, or did the world shift with like the shattering and they were originally vertical but now they're flipped horizontal? Who knows. So this is the first time we've seen an enemy like that. He stood up on me, just started swinging with his spear. I mean, they're humanoid looking, but there is a straight up tree sprout growing out of it. It actually has like fruit on there, which I'd never really noticed before. And so he's got like, I guess I say fruit, that's not entirely true. It looks like a flower bud, like, but it hasn't bloomed yet. I mean, regular hands, but if that is skin, they have greeny brown skin, like, I mean, I guess a barky plant colored. And look at their feet, they're all gnarled branch like. But I mean, it's very golden like. The top headdress is interesting looking. It's like, again, kind of a thin looking crown. And then garb wise, I mean, They've got a mask on, wispy hair, overall just nearly completely cloaked except for their hands and feet. Just kind of an intricate design on there too. That's pretty interesting. Now, we are very close to the minor Erdtree, so is there a connection there? Probably. Now, granted, on the only other time we've gotten close to an Erdtree, there was nothing like this, but there also just wasn't really much around it anyways. So maybe, you know, that's just a new to the game kind of thing, and so there just wasn't much around it. And now, you know, they're actually putting in things that are going to tie into it. Or there's some other connection, who knows? Look how agile they are. And they came sprouting up out of the ground, which, I mean, makes sense considering that they are, like, turning into trees. And now we're at the base of a minor tree. So the last one we found was in a forest. It was really hard to, like, take in the sheer magnitude of it, the size. But, I mean, look at the size of the thing. And it's still nothing compared to the old Erdtree, right? I mean, yeah, nothing compared to it. But it's still absolutely huge. And there is actually somebody here outside of this one, unlike the last one. Large figure, they have a big staff-like thing. And actually, you know, it's got kind of a bowl shape to it, right? The bottom part of it, or I say the bottom part of it, the top part of it has a sort of, you know, bottomy bowl-ish shape to it. Basin maybe, with a tree icon kind of thing growing out of the top. And the whole thing, the whole creature is very bark-like as well, which again shouldn't be surprising if we've been fighting tree people. This is outside of an Erdtree, minor Erdtree. And it's an Erdtree avatar. Alright. Huh. Look at the size of them. Now, if you played Dark Souls or, you know, maybe Dark Souls 3, the moveset of this guy is the Asylum Demon. There's, you know, moveset-wise, not anything to take from there. It doesn't have a head, which is interesting. But look how that back part kind of, like, swoops back a little bit. In a way, it feels reminiscent of wings to me. The bottom part on the back side is, like, the back part of, like, I don't want to say dress, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have the armors, like, some of the knight armors we have, like, it has that kind of drapery to it. Go away. Lots of big stomps. Big, glorious gold thing. Now, something that's interesting to me here is an Erdtree avatar. We've got that, I don't want to kill it yet because it can do stuff. But we fought that, oh, here it goes. There was an Erdtree symbol on the ground when it did that. And look at all these, like, shooting gold things. So, yeah, even there, this is a big gold explosion as well. So, obviously tied to the Erdtree, given its name, and the golden incantation-y things that it's doing. But we fought that tree spirit, but it was an ulcerated tree spirit. And we got some different tier blessings. But the ulcerated tree spirit, right, it's a tree spirit, and it's all nasty. This thing is a tree avatar, and nothing's wrong with it, but it's also not, like, dealing with, like, a burial ground. It's just, like, up at the tree. So does each tree have a, like, avatar? And which would then lead to the question of, like, where's the avatar of that one minor tree we went to? Is there an avatar for the actual, like, major, like, Erdtree? Would that be, like, found in the form of, like, Marika or something? It's kind of, you know, some things to wonder about. And then look, there's all these giant jars, just like Alexander, except it looks like there are spots where they should have arms, but there are no arms. Now, we know a little bit about these things. They're living jars, and they are filled with bloody meat because we've gotten living jar shards. Let's see, living jar hardened after its death. You can see there's meat clinging to it. They normally have magical powers locked within, and we've also gotten, like, raw meat, like dumplings from them, or lumps of flesh. Not lumps of flesh. I'm pretty sure it was the dumplings, which is just a pungent meatball. Oh, okay. So I was just walking around. I was not going to have anything here, but this feels a little too interesting to not do. But I was walking here, and I heard singing. There it is. Up this way. There's bats. But who's singing? There it is, right down there. Look, that's a different one. See how the pose is different, the coloration is different? This is like, that thing has a human face, old woman-like, got jewelry and stuff around her, maybe a type of headdress. Yeah, pretty weird. And if we get in and we fight her, let's go ahead and chop down that dude. Let's get rid of that one because I want to focus on her. Now let's see if she does some stuff. So she starts flinging up poison. So that, you know, now we're poisoned. Big scream. Not surprising. They're doing different voice or like roar type abilities. I want to see if she does anything else. She does do a grab attack, but some of them I've seen before do different attacks as well, and maybe she wouldn't do it. It also dropped us a Rune 6. Now, I haven't really been looking at these things because, like, there's not much to get from there. It's a nourishment for the development of any tarnished, provided a finger mating can be found. And it's all kind of the same, but now look at this. We get into a golden Rune 3, and it says, even now, runes are still imbued with the power of life itself. Do you see the Erdtree towering over? All right, so they are imbued with the power of life, which we actually kind of know this in a way because, like, we don't necessarily know that the runes are empowered with life, but we know that the Erdtree has stuff to do with life. It's got the primordial life, the crucible and stuff, but also talking to Selen, she mentions that the red amber of the Erdtree is like primordial life or something along those lines. And then look at this, Rune 6 is what we just got from that bat woman thing. Those born... Wait, hold on. And see, it changes. There's a top part changes as well. This one says lingering trace of gold, but once you get to this one, lingering residue of gold. So it's obviously getting more and more enhanced. So this says those born at the foot of the Erdtree are blessed. At least that is the enduring belief of the people of the plateau. So people believed that just being born at the foot of the Erdtree was a blessing in itself. Like you would just be blessed by being born there. And that's what they want to believe. But is it true? You know, who knows? And then it leads to the question, why did she have that one? Like, because that almost implies that rune would be from someone born at the foot of the Erdtree. So was that Batwoman thing born at the foot of the Erdtree? Maybe. How did it end up here? Or maybe it killed somebody and pulled it from their body. You know, it's so many questions. Are there actual answers to them? No, absolutely not. Look at that thing. What? We're gonna go check that out here in a bit. We found ourselves at a chapel. There's a ghost here. We are at the... doesn't say yet. I don't know. Let's see what he's commoner dude. Sitting in chair. The Mausoleum prowls, cradling the soulless demigod. O America, Queen Eternal, he is your unwanted child. Okay, so... the Mausoleum prowls, cradling the soulless demigod. Queen America, he's your unwanted child. Queen Eternal. Huh. So Mausoleum... that's super cryptic, right? What do you do with that right now? Without having any other knowledge, what the heck are you supposed to do with that, right? Except remember it and then maybe find some pieces later to tell you something else. Now, this is different. So we are at the Church of Pilgrimage. Now, if we found some of these other churches, they have names. Church of LA. There is also this one over here, which is the Third Church of America, implying other churches of America, and it had a statue of America. There's also a smoldering church that got burned down. Now, most of the other churches have a statue of America or something. This one has a guy standing in a T-pose with a hash mark, lattice work behind him. Again, kind of that crown thing, we've seen in a few people wearing at their head, long hair, robe. That pose we've seen from the Golden Order, that D has it, right? So maybe there's some connection there. There's another sacred tier. Now, if we go peeking around behind him, ooh, maybe it's not here. Maybe it's a different church and statue. Oh no, look right here. Look at that. There they are. D complains about these. Look at that. It's a centipede. But it's gold. Golden centipede. And D, when we went to the village, he's all like, oh, the mark of the centipede was found here. Those who live in death is bad, right? And then Rogier, he's all like, no, he's like, mark of the centipede. He's somebody who deals with it. As long as they're not of ill intent like us, he could work with them. They could talk, right? The golden and desiccated remains of a centipede, it's used for crafting items, kept as a fetish by Golden Order fundamentalists, especially the hunters of those who live in death. As such, they're found near churches and similar. Okay, so the Golden Order fundamentalists, or hunters, or especially those who live in death, they use it as a fetish, and that's why we find them at the church and stuff. And now Melina has something to say.
Spoken echoes of Queen Marika linger here as well. Shall I share them with you?
Yeah, of course, right?
In Marika's own words, then, after thy death, I will give back what I once claimed, return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden Ring, grow strong in the face of death. Warriors of my Lord Godfrey.
Okay, so this is almost like a continuation of the last thing we heard from, like, in Marika's own words, where she said, she talked about my lord and armies, I divest each of you of your grace and banish, like, you'll be banished and hounded from the lanes between. You have to travel where you will live and you will die. Now here she's saying, after, when you have finally died and stuff, I will return that which I took from you, and you'll come back, wage war, and brandish the Elden Ring. So, and she specifically says Lord Godfrey. So, is Godfrey supposed to be, like, coming back? But then also, there's an idea too that all the Tarnished are, like, warriors, because, like, in some of the, like, character creation stuff, they talk about how warriors, or the Tarnished were all warriors once. And then when we fought Margit the Fell Omen, he mentions that, like, oh, we get him so far down. He's like, warrior blood must truly run in thy veins. So, like, is there some descendancy going on there? Now, running down this path, hill, whatever you want to call it, we can see this massive building thing that is walking around, and it has a bell, and bells are really important, right? We've noticed them for, like, calling the dead and stuff. And then we've got these soldiers. They're glowing ephemeral things, kind of like spirit summons in a way, but they're similar to the ghost guys we found in the French folk grave, except if we look at these guys, look how they don't have a head. They have no heads, which is pretty different from the other ones, right? Now, they are all over the ground around here, but we are really interested in that thing walking over there. Now, we'll get close. Like, look at that building. It's got a tree. There's actually, like, a circle thing going on up there. Huh. This thing's turning. Okay. There's some glowy sections on the legs. Not what I want to do. It's fine. We can get closer like this, too. Anything interesting on the bell? Not really. It's a bell. It's attached. It's swinging. But when we get close, now you can maybe figure this out on your own. Because, like, look on the sides of it. We'll try and get another look as that lake stops moving. It's got these, I would almost call them like barnacles, but you see a clear look on some of those right there. They're like skulls. And if you go and you attack it, they break. Now you can get a clue from a merchant about this. Or you can end up just like mindlessly swinging around and just kind of figuring it out for yourself, right? And as we break enough of these, maybe. Oh, I heard a sound. No. So I have to wonder though, is this thing like, is it walking around because of, like, I mean, break it and it's going to stop walking. So the direct correlation is that's what's making it walk. And when you break them, look, you can see that, oh, I wanted to get a better look at it. There was that flame we see like the skeletons do. So, or is this thing somehow animated by the same thing that's animating like skeletons and like those who live in death? That would be the implication I get. And we can see there's a door pathway up here. I don't have my torch right now, but I don't think there's really anything we could get off of those pictures, really. And you got to be careful looking at some of the, like, design things that they use and, like, textures, doors, and stuff, because it's not always actually significant. It's sometimes just stock stuff. And look, there's that guy again. There's those statues of the dudes with swords standing around. A chandelier-like thing. Well, this kind of, like, bluish, I want to call it teal. I'm going to say the wrong color. It might be cyan. But there's that color there. And a body. Examine remains. And notice that there is no head. There's no head on this thing. There's a stone thing right above it. Like, you can see where the head would supposedly, like, rest. And that part there almost looks like a crown to me. But he's holding up its arms like it's offering something. And if we examine it, we can get back remembrances. What's the significance of that? I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of a gameplay mechanic that I added in there. But the thing is, when we get a note to like help us with solving this thing, the merchants call it the walking mausoleum. And when we talked to that ghost up here, he said the mausoleum prowls and your, the soulless son, your unwanted son. And so does that thing have no soul? Is it, I guess it's just soulless, right? But is it America's unwanted son of some sort? Like why exactly, right? Like, what's the answer there? And look what we find, the Fourth Church of America. And there's Statue of America. I wonder if there will be more spoken words here. I don't remember that there is, but you never know. Now, all of these churches seem to have a sacred tier, which when we look at it again, right? A blessing of the Erdtree worshipped in the churches of all lands is but a faint vestige. They were used to spread the faith, for theirs was once a certain blessing. So it makes sense you'll find them in a church, because if you have a church, it's to help spread the faith. And so you would want there to be this like thing used to spread it. So, whatever. But there's also Statue of America, which then ties in with the Erdtree favor one, where it seems like the blessings were personally bestowed upon their recipients by Queen America herself. So it would be like, there's America, and she's personally bestowing upon you a sacred tier to help you out. A mausoleum surcoat. So we got lucky there, actually. That'll help us out with some of our lore stuff. Now, without even reading it, if you actually look at that thing we just got, which one, I just like how it looks. Look how there's like blood staining the front of it and around the neck. These ghosts have no heads. So we can extrapolate where that blood came from. But it's worn by the headless soldiers who endlessly guard the wandering mausoleum. The surcoat depicts a mausoleum bell, which rings in constant mourning for the soulless demigods. So there are multiple soulless demigods. Oh, another ghost. Oh, there it is. The tower. Okay, right there. I see it broken. Finally, I can return to our home, bathed in rays of gold. I mean, that's what Godric says. Right after we defeat him, he's like fading out and he's like, return to our home, bathed in rays of gold. Even D mentions it. He's talking about in honeyed rays. And if we go into the remembrance, it says here, one day we'll return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold. Now we need to check this out. Here is poison water, Witchbane Ruins. And look at this thing teleporting up. There's a portal, and then we've got a giant ball of like stone looking heads. It's got gems in the eyes. It's shooting off blue mortar spells. Like, we know a lot of those spells are like, the blue spells are like glint blade stuff, so that's a connection we can make there. Chop them down. What do we get? Mushroom. Oh, there's some other soldiers. He has 4 arms. We've seen something else with 4 arms. That would be the witch Rena. She had 4 arms. I mean, Godric had more than 4 arms, so there's that. Let's see. Can we break him up? It's got like a basket, like, case around the chest. Like, it doesn't really have like armor, but if you look at it, look how it's not actually like legs. And you can see the joints are like sewn, which again, what was that like? The witch Rena. Cuckoo Glintstone. All right, so Glintstone again tying into, you know, what we were just talking about was the spells. We find ourselves Poison Bloom, comes from toxic land, which obviously this ground has poisoned us. And when we go way down in here, right, most of the runes have a secret like room like this with some kind of loot or treasure. Only this one is like a torture chamber. Yeah, there's bodies trapped up here. Looks like commoners. Ambush Shard, that's a spell. And we can see there is a woman, and it looks a lot like Selin. Her arms are like encased in a crystal. She is shaking. Now, see her helmet, like her mask maybe? It's very similar to all those things we saw on that big ball thing of like stone faces with gemstones and stuff. Like, it's the same.
It will do no good, I swear it. And yet you persist. You frothing degenerates.
So there's nothing we can do for her. So, frothing degenerates. Like, I'm assuming she's talking about the torturing. Like, the torturing will do no good. And she's calling whoever is torturing her frothing degenerates. Like, those things right there. Now, if we end up going back and we talk to Selin, she has nothing to say about it. Unless something has changed since the last time I've gone through and done all this, she will say absolutely nothing. So it's just a complete, like, what the heck kind of situation. All right, so now we're up here. It's another one of those jail things. And this one's the Weeping Evergaol. We're at the Weeping Peninsula. That makes sense. Let's enter it. Oh, except we can't. The imp seal is in effect. So this one is actually sealed up. Is that because it's more important? Or, you know, Miyazaki just decided that you should have to spend something to get it? I don't know. All right, we're in there. And actually, hey, if looking at this, you know, the design on this reminds me of the Divine Tower. Like, it has that same similar-ish design. I mean, it could just be because it's a fancy, you know, interweaving knottish design, but it's something to think about. Let's see what we fight now. We're all buffed up. Ancient Hero of Zamor. Ooh. Alright, so that hit us with Frostbite. You can see the icon there. Yeah. Oh, look how floaty she is. You know what that reminds me of? Is the Wounded Black Knife assassin we fought. Like, that thing was all floaty like that too. But obviously this thing has got like, well, one, it has a mask on. We've seen that on a different character. We saw that on those tree people things. It's also got a big sword, curved sword, lots of ice things. Even the hair is like floatish, right? Like it's floating. Very savage looking. Like, I mean, she is like aggressive. Yeah, she didn't like that though. It's hard to see the armor, like very emaciated in a way that appearance kind of reminds me of the whatchamacallit, Alabaster Lord, maybe, whatever was on the beach that we fought and we got the Gravitas Ash of War. But what did it give us? A an amulet signs or talisman. Radigan's Scar Seal. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, it's an eyeball. And it reminds me of the Shibiri Grape, partly because it's an eyeball. But I mean, just how discolored it is. It's got the, yellowish tint to it. But is it more yellowish or is it like gold? And then also, it's like almost like, I don't want to say, encased in like a root thing, like vines, maybe not vines. I don't know. An eye engraved with an Elden rune, said to be the seal of King Consort Radigan. Raises vigor, endurance, strength, and dexterity, but also increases damage taken. These seals represent the lifelong duty of those chosen by the gods. So, we know a little bit about King Consort Radigan. We know he was Renala of the Carian royal family. That was her husband, and he left her to go become King Consort to Marika. Now, if you look at that design on the eye, we've seen that like lattice work before. We saw that in the church. We saw that in the Church of Pilgrimage, just right over here. It was behind that guy. So we can strongly imply that might have been a statue depicting Radigan. Now, it represents lifelong duty of those chosen by the gods. So, did he leave Renala because he was chosen by the gods? And then because of that, this was like engraved, like, was it literally engraved on his eye? Or is this just, I mean, it's an eye. So, the seal of King Consort Radigan. So, did he use it for letters? Sealing wax? Interesting. I don't know. Another thought, actually, I just had. What are the seals? Godslayer seal, Dragon Communion seal, the things that you use to cast incantations. So was this what he used to cast his incantations? And it's engraved with an Elden rune. So this is like one of the Elden runes that go into the Elden ring, I guess. So was this like what he would use in order to cast spells? It's something I never thought about before. Two things I forgot to do real quick before I actually ended the video. One is a spell I got from that room where we saw a body like Selen's, that we can maybe assume is Selen. It sounded the same, it looked the same. Ambushard, one of the night sorceries of Celia, Town of Sorcery, launches a projectile from a distance removed from the caster so that as to strike the enemy from behind. It can be cast repeatedly. The Celian sorceries were assassins, and it is said that they often hunted their fellows. Now, does that mean that Selen was a Celian sorcery, like an assassin? Or is it saying that, she was captured by them? I mean, her name is also Selen, right? Am I crazy? Selen, from the source place of Celia. It's a little close, too close on the nose, right? Yeah, so maybe she's from there. Maybe she's an assassin. Is that why she was a witch and cast out? Or maybe. All right, and the last thing here, pretty sure is right around here. So, oh, there's an item. I'm not too, I mean, I think that has some sort of interesting, that's not the one I'm looking for. Heavier than a wooden shield. The gold leaf is peeling and the effective slight still boosts holy damage. Also, I got the shield. Shield of the Guilty. Made to venerate a maiden whose eyes were crushed by the briars of sin. Capitalized, so that's like a thing. Before being reborn in these lands. Venerating the repose of the soul, this shield boosts focus. The briars can be used to attack foes. Interesting one. So, a maiden whose eyes were crushed by some briars of sin. And then she was reborn here. Now, we have met a blind maiden. That would be Irina, who died over in here, right? After the misbegotten got her, which we are kind of questioning as well. And in addition to that, speaking of her being blind or her eyesight being weak, we know that there is this Shibiri grape thing, which says, give to the blind maiden to guide her to the distant light. Now, unfortunately, she's dead. So we won't know that we can do that or not. There wasn't an option for us, but, given how From Software works, sometimes quest lines end if you don't do them completely correctly. But anyways, there's a painting that we got earlier, a prophecy painting right there. So we can see Stormvale, the waterfall, you know, all that kind of stuff. And look, there's a waterfall, there's Stormvale. We can see, yeah, this is looking pretty good, right? So if we wander around here, we should find, yeah, there it is. Look at that ghost dude. And he was doing a little picture thing. Different coloration to his ghost thing, but he gave us Warhawk Ashes. Now, I think they're really fun, actually. Spirit of a Stormvale Hawk, the talons of which have been sliced off so that razor-fine swords could be grafted into their place. With its lord vanquished, its wings wounded, the hawk perished as it solemnly gazed at its former home. The storm is a warhawk's cradle. That's pretty tragic. I do actually really like that hawk, like ash, whatever you want to see. I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun because it is the fire-breathing one as well. So it's just fun. With that though, I'm going to stop it there because there's so much more you can go and do in this place. I mean, I haven't touched this. There's that tower thing the ghost was talking about. Like, there's interesting things there. There's this place over there. You know, there's little dungeons. There's spots over here. There's a lot of things. And I mean, frankly, it's just too much to go through. It would make too many long videos, and I want us to like really progress, right? Now I will go through and do all of them. And then if there's items and things for me to collect, I'll have them, and I'm going to tie them in with things that we do later. But I do appreciate you guys checking out. You know, I always do. Hope you find it interesting. You know, just things to like think about. It's just really interesting, especially going through it all again and like really kind of taking my time with it. It's pretty fun. And also, I just enjoy playing the game. I like using strength builds, all the things. But we're going to go ahead and go back to my axe. Until the next one, though, I hope you guys take care. Always take care.